নমস্কাৰ নলেজ জেনিত মাইণ্ডলৈ সকলোকে স্বাগতম জনাইছোঁ মই শুভাংগী নলেজ জেনিত মাইণ্ডলৈ আমি প্ৰত্যেকদিনে চেষ্টা কৰোঁ বিভিন্ন ক্ষেত্ৰত কাম কৰি থকা বিভিন্নজন ব্যক্তিক আমি আমন্ত্ৰণ জনাবলৈ আজিও এজন বিশেষ ব্যক্তি আমাৰ মাজত আছে আমি আজি কথা পাতিম থিয়েটাৰ বিষয় থিয়েটাৰ এজ এ মিডিয়াম আৰু আজি যিজন ব্যক্তিক আমন্ত্ৰণ জনাই আনিছে তেখেতে বহুত কাম কৰিছে ইন দ্য ফিল্ড অফ থিয়েটাৰ আৰু তেখেতে থিয়েটাৰ এজ এ মিডিয়াম লৈ বহুতো গৱেষণা কৰিছে তেখেত আমাৰ লগত আছে তেখেত Radhika Goswami she is a theatre practitioner she is a director of Agora and she is a researcher ma'am welcome to our show
thank you so much Shubhangi lovely to be here
thank you ma'am first of all apuni iman busy aru iman busy schedule mazot apuni সময় উলিয়াবলৈ আপুনি মোৰ শোলে আহিছে thank you so much ma'am
it had to be done I think because আমি দুটাইজনকে কিমান দিনৰ পৰা জানো এতিয়া 2 বছৰ 2 বছৰটো হ'ল and I have fond memories of working with you so I thought this would be fun
thank you ma'am hope our audience ভাল পায় it will be fun for them also okay so ma'am you were into theatre for a very long time
yeah
so first question is how did you get interested how did you develop your passion for theatre
okay so I think যেটা সৰু আছিলো অলংকাৰ মানে এটা মোৰ দেউতাৰ গেষ্ট হাউস এটা আছিল হোটেল অলংকাৰ বুলি তাতে কোহিনুৰ থিয়েটাৰৰ গ্ৰুপটো আহি প্লে থাকিছিলে so I had seen a lot of mobile theatre growing up and I still remember this one particular time when আমি টাইটানিক চাব গৈছিলো আৰু টাইটানিকখনত যেটা মানে জাহাজখন এনেকে ভাঙি পৰিছিলে ষ্টেজত আৰু লাইভ হৈ আছিল তিতা junto that exhilarating feeling of being part of this very personal intense feeling while in a large crowd and them feeling the same thing seeing the same thing I think that's where the magic of theatre grew on me and then I had the good fortune of attending a workshop so schoolot Baharul Islam da ahisile workshop ekhon koribole karone tita ami production ta korisile Tetun Tamuli
okay
I played his mother
okay
so and that's when I realized this could be something and I would always want this to be part of my life and I think from there the journey I took with theatre got even more intense I guess in college so I could collegiate theatre korisu aru that was the first time when I had written and directed plays by myself so he to homoy eta juntu mane the freedom and of expression the freedom of expressing oneself the way that one wanted I think I found that through theatre and I think I held on to that feeling really strong I did not want to let it go
that's so nice ma'am so apnar focal point of work was the exploration of identity and in the context of conflict transformation
right
so ma'am would you like to elaborate on your focal point
okay so I think I'll still go back to where I left off with college post college moi eta grant eta paisilu foundation for social transformation or Guwahatit jot before that also I had done a diploma in peace and conflict
okay
so because academically I was inclined to that field and then theatre was always part of my life I thought why don't I fuse the two and see where that takes me and while doing that research for the diploma I found out a lot more about Assamese theatre than I was informed before that
okay
so he titia mur juntu interest ahile I felt like this is something I would like to explore furthermore and then I came across this person this theatre practitioner called Augusta Ball
okay
who coined theatre of the oppress he's the theatre practitioner who coined theatre of the oppress and I was very inspired by his work and it felt like it spoke to me when I talked about freedom of expression and just generally how I viewed change I felt like that was a medium that allowed me to talk about how to bring about change in oneself as an individual and collectively in a community so I used a lot of his techniques while doing the manual that I had developed during the Foundation of Social Transformation research grant time and I worked with a lot of adolescent children. So anyone between the age of 14 to 16, I worked with a lot of school kids, and from there, when I was working with them, I realized that just theatre techniques was not enough to get through. I wanted to sort of fuse theatre techniques that was given by Augusta Ball with life skills, which is recommended by WHO. And with that, I tried to sort of talk about how internal and external conflicts that people face, especially in the, I guess, Northeast, jita ami kotha kini pato, we do realize amar kiman kini. I'm just gonna do that again, okay? Because
Sure.
I think it's just very off topic. But so, as I was saying, with Foundation for Social Transformation or junkhini moi manual or kam khini jita korisilu, I fused theatre of the oppressed techniques with life skills, and with that I realized that this could be a very liberating medium for people to come out and say what they were thinking, what they were feeling, and it felt like I could create a safe space in the workshop that I was facilitating, especially with adolescents during that time. So from there, again, and at this time I had done my graduation in Delhi, I had come back, I'd spent about 2 years in Guwahati before going out to study again, and then I came back and started Agora. So in all of this, I also at one point I think was searching for my own identity of how I viewed myself and situated myself. So I think all of these stages of my life inform my work now, where I look at individuality, I look at identity of the self versus identity of the collective, and it interests me on just seeing the human narrative, I guess.
Okay. So ma'am, as you spoke about the manual, I want to know the application of it, and currently কেনেকৈ ব্যৱহাৰ হৈ আছে আপুনি ডিজাইন কৰা মেনুৱেলখন?
Okay. So মই কেইবাটাও অৰ্গেনাইজেশ্যনৰ লগত আগতেও কাম কৰিছোঁ, এতিয়াও জড়িত হৈ আছোঁ. One of them being Mind India,
Okay.
which is a mental health organization. Our Agora to উদ্দেশ্যটো এইটোৱে হয় যে we work on well-being through art and culture.
Okay.
So with Mind India, I do more of the barefoot counseling workshops, jot we talk about theatre and well-being.
Okay.
So the way that the manual is used is that empathy becomes a focal point,
Okay.
because that is something we both know coming from theatre backgrounds, that doing it physically makes it a lot more easier to grasp as a concept, right? So when I use the manual, I try and focus on those techniques where the social awareness and advocacy, if a group comes in and says, okay, this is our topic, this is our theme, this is the field that we work in, I try and tailor the workshop in such a way that we're talking about your field constantly, but doing it in such a way where there's application of the techniques that you've learned in the workshop. So dutaman exercise ase jenike dhoriloa, one of the biggest I think exercises that Baul talks about is image theatre and forum theatre.
Okay.
So I use a lot of that to showcase how people by doing can also experience it as a holistic medium.
Okay.
So hey, I think.
Okay. That's nice, ma'am.
Or
So-
if did you want something more specific out of this question?
No, I just wanted to know your view.
Okay.
Okay.
So currently, like, we have different things that we do with the workshop manual. We don't just work with mental health in organizations. We have sort of branched that out, and we work with a couple of schools. We have a weekly class at Agora where we work with kids from the age group of 6 to 10 right now. So in a lot of ways, the manual that I sort of developed is flexible enough that I can tailor it to different groups, and I think that's something I was very interested in creating.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, while I was reading about you, I got to know that Apunar at the directional piece, it got selected for London Student Showcase.
Right.
Okay, ma'am. So, first of all, I want to know, like, what did you direct? How did the idea come to your mind? And তাৰপিছতে কেনেকৈ selection হ'ল? everything about that
Okay.
event.
Now I can, I think, smile and laugh about it, but the way it happened was, I think, serendipitous for me, because I was doing a 1-year master's course in London at that time. For a brief period, I wasn't doing very well mentally.
Okay.
I think I just missed, like, academic pressure was a lot. I felt like I didn't really venture out as much, or did not really grasp the experience as much as I could, and I didn't know how to sort of get myself started again.
Okay.
So at that time, so because previously as well in my life, theatre has been a medium where I have felt safe, where I have felt like I have some kind of control over my life and I can do things through the medium. And I think I seeked it out again at that point of time in my life, because I felt beleg eku jodi kaam kora nai or beleg jodi eku murot aha nai, this is something that I can do and this is something that I enjoy doing, so maybe it'll bring back the joy of life to me. So I seeked it out in terms of my SOAS at Asilu, School of Oriental and African Studies.
Okay.
So the drama society there, I went and spoke to the president of the drama society, and I said, hey, so I write and I direct, I don't know how to sort of get into the society, but do you think we could do something? And she's like, oh, this is actually quite nice, because we are looking for someone to direct, so would you want to direct?
Oh.
And that was very, very strange for me, because my previous experiences always, you know, like nobody asks you to be director in the first place. No, you're like, oh, you know, come by, you try this out.
Yeah.
So that was very different. I was like, okay, I'll try. And I met a lovely bunch of people, lovely bunch of people. Everybody was extremely passionate about what they were doing. The president of society was also the producer of the play, and Jordana, she was the writer, the playwright. So we took her script, and TBC is basically to be confirmed.
Confirmed.
To be
Okay.
confirmed. So the whole play was a satirical piece on how student theatre works. So we had a very funny story that we performed, and the first round we performed at a separate theatre, and when the results came in, we were ecstatic, because not only did we like do well, but we did well enough to get into the finals, where we are now performing at West End. None of us really thought about it at that point, but with the play itself, right, like it was a satirical piece on this, like it's almost like saying, oh look, I guess maybe I don't think I should say this on camera, but like it's I think we've been very critical of the entire process of how collegiate theatre and student theatre works, especially given budgets, given the fact that like you have these different people coming together, trying to make things work. It works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes, but the whole experience, I think, taught me to look at theatre in a much broader sense.
Okay.
Where till then I was, of course, there. I was, of course, like looking at theatre in a broader sense, but this experience made me feel like I could dream bigger, and I think I would leave it at that.
Of course you can, ma'am. Someday like আৰু পিছত যেটো নলেজ এণ্ড মাইণ্ডৰ পিছত আপোনাৰ আৰু ইয়াৰ বিষয়ে সুধিবলৈ আমি আৰু দিন কথা পাতিম. So ma'am, I want to know who has been inspiration for theatre? I want to know for theatre and for your ideal person in your life as well.
Oh, okay. That's actually a good question, because I think I've had situated influences across my life. There have been definitely times when one person has been an influence in my life more than others. I think, okay, if I have to name some people, my first sort of, after Baharulda's workshop, I'm very grateful for that workshop in my life. After that, I met Gayatri Sharma.
Okay.
She's also a theatre practitioner. At that time, she used to also anchor for NDTV. She was a journalist for NDTV.
Okay.
And she did a workshop, and she did a workshop for English theatre.
Okay.
Till then, I had only seen more of Assamese theatre, and I mean, English theatre wasn't really like sort of something that people were doing very prominently in Guwahati. So, with her workshop, we did this play called What a Mushkil Night, and it was a huge cast, and we were all friends, like really like kids, like class 9, 10, 11 maybe. And that experience really stayed with me. So I was very grateful to have found her at that time when I did. Moving to college, I had a couple of professors who really made me see the world in a very different light.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would name them, but do you think I should name them?
You can, ma'am.
Okay. So one of them was N.P. Ashley. He was our Drama Society's head.
Okay.
And I had worked with him on several projects, and I think he made me really question how theatre should be versus what theatre was, and how it could be versus how it was. And I think that really opened up a lot of different ways of viewing how theatre can be a medium that you can play around with, instead of it just being on stage, or instead of it just being on, I guess, a particular way of doing theatre. And then there was, I did history in my graduation,
Okay.
so there was this other person called APD, Aditya Pradapdeo, and he has been, I think, as a teacher, I really, really looked up to him, because he had such a brilliant way of looking at the world, and especially the depth he had in his own subject within history. It really made me feel like curiosity is a very good thing. That's what I had, I think, learned from him, that you should be curious, you should be critical. And once you have those two qualities that you hone in yourself, you really sort of take off, I guess, the rose-tinted glasses and try and see what else is out there, and you're not like trying to be comfortable in the bubble that you create, I guess. Apart from that, in my professional life as well, I have been very fortunate to work and interact with people like now Arun Sharma sir, Arun Sharma Koka, Arun Sharma sir, তাৰপিছতে Obhinaz da. I had the good fortune of working with Obhinaz da, and I have to truly say that it had been such a magnanimous opportunity where one thing that I will always carry from my, I think, interaction with him is how you never let your inner child die, and you just have to be inquisitive, you just have to be hungry for knowledge, I think, where he does it so well that even in the stage that he is in and the accomplishments that he's received and had, he's still so curious to like learn more. He's still so enthusiastic about the learning process, and I think that really ignited another spark in me.
Okay.
And I think, as I said, like influences are situated, right? So you have different people in your life sort of play a very major part in that particular time in your life. So I guess one person that I think I would have to acknowledge, and I think I forgot to mention in the beginning, is I'm very influenced by how my mom is.
Okay.
Like, of course, there are like.
I think she's the first lady to hold a PhD from Assam in counseling psychology.
I actually didn't know that. Is she?
Is she? I read somewhere. So
Oh.
I'm asking you.
I mean, I know that she was one of the first people to have a counseling center, like not center, but a counseling office.
Okay. Somewhere I
in
read, I'm not
Guwahati.
very sure. So like,
But if she
I wanted
is,
to confirm with you.
wow, this makes me look very bad, doesn't it? I have no idea if
No,
this
it's
is
not.
true. But well, kudos to her if she is. That just makes my point even more, I guess.
I read somewhere. I remember, like, I read somewhere. I thought of asking you a long time back, but I couldn't.
Like, so the thing is, I'm very influenced also by women.
Okay.
Women across literature, women that I have seen in my own personal life, women who have been in the field, right? And it's brilliant to see how they have sort of paved the way, and I hope to do something similar in my own capacity at some point, where I can still, like, you know, hold the torch and like pass it down. So I think in this context, I have to acknowledge that my mom has been extremely influential in understanding how you navigate life as an independent woman, as a strong woman. Especially, I think in the last 3 years, it has become even more clear to me.
Okay. So, ma'am, I asked you about your inspiration. You have an organization called Agora. We will talk about Agora. I mean, Agora bikhoye kotha patim. But at present, I want to ask you, there are many people who is in Agora learning from you. So, like, obviously, there will be people jar inspiration apuni hobo. Apuni janeke kole apuna inspiration hokolor kotha. So, ji hokol manu hai, students, they see you as their inspiration. Tell apuni anything you want to say or message?
Thanks for that, I guess, Shubhangi, because you know how anxious this makes me. Like, I'm sure you figured that out when you asked me for this interview as well, where I was just like, I don't know. But I think I would first like to just say thank you.
Because I am one of them. My logot ma Agora ebar kaam korisilu. The way she handles, strict hoy, galiyo khaisilu. But the way you handle, I admire your spirit, your work spirit.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for. I think it means a lot to me coming from you, and just generally, like when you put this question to me, I'm not professionally trained. I would like to put that out. I'm not professionally trained. I've done workshops, I've done trainings, but largely I'm self-taught with theatre. So I can't help but sometimes feel like I wouldn't call it imposter syndrome, because that puts it in a whole different world. But this just sometimes reinforces the belief that I should do what I'm doing, instead of like being like, oh, I don't know if this is something that I can do or not, because those self-doubts are very real. Those insecurities are extremely real.
And I'm telling you today, even camera agot ma koise, karon tetia mor apnale bhoy lagise etu kotha kobole. As a chance paise, as a moi host hoy, moi comment.
Now I see where the inspiration to get me on this show came from. Like, aji to koi thakiboy lagibo bhai. But no, I mean, it's always very nice to be acknowledged, but the joy that I get from working with younger people who are sort of in that idea, whether I shouldn't do, whether I would enjoy doing it, I just hope that as several people sort of helped ignite that spark for me, I can in some small way do that for others. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, that's nice, ma'am. Now coming to Agora, I'd say that your brainchild, Agora.
I mean, yeah, but I have to acknowledge that it's still a space that came out of a lot of people's ideas together.
So, ma'am, my question is, what is Agora? My audience what is Agora? What do you do there? And what is, like, everything about you? Like, I want an explanation of Agora for our audience.
Okay. So, আমি 2019 Agora আৰম্ভ কৰিছিলোঁ. Agora নামটো মোৰ মায়ে দিয়া পিছে.
Okay.
In Greek, it actually means a marketplace, which also can double up as a community space. So it's where everybody has a chance to interact with one another. So it was largely based on the idea of a community. And when we started in 2019, one of our first events was an exhibition called Porisai.
Okay.
And with Porisai, we had a couple of other different organizations, such as, in fact, 4 organizations came together. One was Guwahati Art Project, one was Kolpor Golpo, the other one was East India Poets, and the fourth one was us. And we were all young artists, I would say, and what we tried to do is we got together, all of us, and we sort of created this exhibition where the name doubles up as two things. One is the Porisoy as in an introduction to the space, and as I'm interested in identity, I think I convinced everybody else to also think about identity, and we call it Porisoy. And I think at that time, because we were also looking at Ka as a very real, issue. So I think everybody had that in their mind as well, and we decided that identity becomes very important for all of us as artists to talk about. So starting from there, then we did a couple of different works where instead of, I think, keeping it at just proscenium stage, we tried and experiment with theatre. So the first play that we did, like the first play that I wrote and directed in Guwahati as a professional play, was called Sentenced.
Okay.
And with Sentenced, it was 7 stories of guilt and grief. So it was a mental health play, and we had a walking audience. So instead of a seated audience, the audience traveled from one story to the other. So we created a sort of intimate space with these stories, and the response we got was overwhelming with that play. And since then, we've sort of tried to carry on that tradition to say that, okay, we do stage plays, but we also do more of like, how can we break out of this norm? How can we do things differently? So at Agora, we definitely encourage more of critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration.
Okay.
So teamwork is very important for us.
Okay.
And now it's been 5 years. It feels like just yesterday, I guess. And recently we started, as I said, we started the kids classes. So that brought a very different dimension to the work that we do at Agora. Through Agora, we also take care of, say, Ita Mind India Kotha Patislu. So a lot of their outreach programs we take on, which are cultural in nature. We have also associated with international projects where we, again, try and talk about the balance of well-being through the theatre techniques that we work on at Agora.
Okay.
So I think aru kiba asile jodi pahorisu de moi etia.
That's okay, ma'am. The next thing I want to ask is that theatre is therapeutic, which I truly believe, coming from a psychology and theatre background, which I think you'll also agree with me.
I think I agree to the extent that theatre can be anything you want.
Yes.
I think if you manifest therapy through theatre, it will happen.
Yes.
But my happy place is a rehearsal hall. So I think I would agree to you when you say theatre is therapeutic. In my life, it definitely holds true. But give me a rehearsal hall, tell me like, okay, this is something we have to do in this particular date. Like, just give me that, I guess, space, and I'm very happy. I thoroughly enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy how close a production gets, as in like the people who are involved in the production, how everyone comes together, how everyone feels for each other. And because, with theatre, you have everyday interactions during the rehearsal space, during the rehearsal time, right? Before you get onto stage and you do it live. And the beauty of theatre is that it's never the same.
Yes.
Like today you'll do one piece and you'll do it in your own way. Tomorrow you'll still do it in your own way, but there'll still be some micro differences. And I think that also is something that really attracted me to the medium, because very honestly, I'm very easily distracted. I'm very easily bored. So theatre, I think, was the perfect medium for me, where I'm like, okay, fine, I can do different things with this medium. And the rehearsal space really sort of, I guess, becomes that anchor. So just to summarize, as I was saying, that the rehearsal space is my happy space. I think it allows me to just do anything and everything I want. and having people around to experiment with, in the sense experiment along. Wow, that just sounded wrong. I'm just going to say it again. I'm just going to end it at, yeah, the rehearsal space is a happy space. And there's nothing like it.
That's nice, ma'am. So, etia notun education policy, theatre as a part of education, school as a curriculum introduce hobo boli khunisilu. Hoyto school bilakot they'll hire theatre teacher just like they have maths teacher, science teacher, English teacher. So, aru apuniu associated dukhon schooler logot downtown school aru
আমি ডাউনটাউন স্কুলৰ লগত 2 বছৰৰ কাৰণে এছ'চিয়েট হৈ আছিলোঁ তেওঁলোকৰ এতিয়া আমি সংস্কৃতিৰ লগত এতিয়া কাৰেণ্টলি এছ'চিয়েটেড I think we will just not take the names, okay? I'm not very sure because there might be copyright issues and stuff. So I'll just refer to them as 2 schools. But in regard to the question of whether schools are now taking on theatre teachers or not, I think it's a great change that now আমি এনি মেট্ৰ'জত দেখোঁ যে ইণ্টাৰনেশ্যনেল স্কুলছ হওক নহ'লে বা অকণমান সেই ডাঙৰ স্কুলছবিলাকত ইউ হেভ থিয়েটাৰ এজ আ ছাবজেক্ট বাট নাও উই আৰ অলছ' ছিইং that happen across the school board, across the school curriculum, where theatre is acknowledged as one of the activities, co-curricular activities, or just generally part of a syllabus that the child needs to have a holistic growth. And আমি দুখন স্কুলৰ লগত যেহেতু জড়িত হৈ আছিলোঁ since 2022 we started these programs in schools and we also have the current younger class at Agora. We in fact, so with all of this, what we have always like when we were also discussing on how to go about the syllabus, when we were approached by the schools to take these classes, we made up our mind that we'll always make it a point that no matter what the syllabus is, the syllabus has to have child first as a policy.
Okay.
So that would mean that although we would be the facilitators, it would be the children who would be doing most of the work themselves and telling us how they want to proceed. Okay. So we tried to sort of get this, I think it will be too heavy, yeah? I'm just going to scrap that.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that, yes, with the education policy that is implemented, with the new education policy coming in, it's a wonderful change towards adopting theatre as a subject in the schools or extracurricular activity in the schools. Because আগতে কি হৈছিলে দেখিছিলোঁ যে annual functionৰ সময়ত যদি নাটক এখন কৰিলে and now there is a lot more importance given to the subject where people are looking at trained teachers, organizations who do theatre on a regular basis for them to come in and do these workshops. And we have always promoted holistic development of children through theatre, and for us we have always followed the policy of child first, and that's what we try and bring to the table when we talk about educational organizations or institutions, or even with our own theatre classes.
Okay. So one thing I'd like to ask you is that how to the reason who pare both of parents and needy and so like a counter korbo kind. What I wanted to ask you is that financial aspect in taking theatre as a career in Assam ba Ahomad ba Guwahati. Financially manu kiman independent hobo pare, but the financial point of view.
I think so. It is a difficult field. It's an extremely difficult field to have financial independence in, because although the scope of theatre is expanding exponentially in Assam, Guwahati and Assam, there is still not enough organization. Like theatre is still an unorganized sector, so a lot of difficulties I think arise during that time. Generally COVID or সময় দেখা পাইছিলোঁ that a lot of artists, a lot of technicians, they all really went through a very hard time during COVID, because there is not enough structure to the field itself. আমি আমাৰতো গভৰ্ণমেণ্ট চাকৰিৰ নিচিনা নহয় য'ত আমি মানে আইদাৰ মেডিকেল হেৰি পাওঁ নহয় বা বোলে পেঞ্চন পাওঁ none of that exists but what is I think interesting and I think what is a little hopeful to see is that there are now people who are working towards fair compensation, who are working towards voicing out the fact that there should be fair compensation. To me, you look at it from any section of the theatre field, right? People are coming up and saying that, look, I want this to be my first profession, I want this to be my only profession. But I'm not being able to because there is just not enough resources that is dedicated to the field. So I think if we can look at more of government support, we can look at more of institutional support, which can spur, এটা আমাৰ বহুত কাম গ্ৰান্ট বেচিছত হয় নহয় বা হেৰি টিকেট যেনেকৈ এতিয়া ধৰি লোৱা আমি most theatres may not take a ticket because that's how it has been or they may take a ticket which is nominal.
Okay.
But we have seen, as you see in the music scene now, people are there, there is a crowd, there is an audience for it. Theatre also has an audience for it and they are willing to step up. So I think the time is ripe and we are definitely, I choose to be I think more optimistic about it and say that okay, let's put a certain plan in place where we say that okay, if you have a theatre show, I will as a theatre person go and support the show by paying for a ticket instead of wanting to be invited or instead of wanting to have a free pass. And that's how you support a scene, right? So we try and implement that at Agora as well, that we have ticketed shows, we try and talk about institutional support, co-creations, but apart from all of this, I think the government support in the field of arts is something that we really should be voicing out more about.
So ma'am, there's a lot to talk about, but
sorry for being that candid about this.
No worries ma'am. I wanted this kind of conversation. So we have a lot to talk about, but since the time is limited, আমি showটো সামৰণি মাৰিব লাগিব. But শেষ কৰাৰ আগতে আপোনাক এটা কথা সুধিব বিচাৰিছোঁ, Agora future plannings?
So Agora লগত এতিয়া future plannings we had done a theatre festival in 2019. So we hope to sort of bring that back next year, like see how that happens, but that's an aspiration. We're currently working on a few new projects, basically theatre projects, which we hope that we can premiere by say August and then again in December, but all of it is up in the air. But one thing is for sure that with Agora, now that we have started delving into education, theatre in education, we want to carry that forward, and we have also now started classes and workshops for corporates. And with corporates, the idea is that essentially we want to cater to the population between 18 years to 35 years,
okay,
where we see that a lot of stress, a lot of I'm just going to change that answer, I'm really sorry.
It's okay, ma'am.
Because that's just, I feel like I'm giving too much information which is just like not worth it. So I'm going to keep it really simple. So with 5 years of Agora ending, like 5 years of Agora this April, the things that we have learned in the past, we would try and learn from the past and implement it in the future. In terms of work, we have a couple of productions coming up towards the later part of the year. We hope to do a theatre festival. I don't know when that will come about, but hopefully. And in terms of personal aspirations for Agora, I just feel that we want to not just cater to one section of society, or we don't just want to work with one section of society. So I would love for Agora to be a a space where everybody can find a community. And even with the physical space, right, we've always said that when you come into Agora, like the space is yours and you are the spaces. So I think that's where I want to leave it, that even in the next 5 years we can maintain that and grow from there.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Best wishes to you and Team
Thank
Agora. In future, even I would love to get associated with you.
I mean, you know, you're always welcome. Yeah, what are you saying? This like very formal. I hope to get associated with you. Like you're just coming, just come to the space. It's fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
But thank you so much for inviting me, giving me a platform to talk about a little bit of my story. And thank you again.
Welcome,
This
ma'am.
has been fun.
Welcome, ma'am. Knowledge Channel my platform. We not only focus on one particular field. We try to bring guests from different platforms. Our nijor kothakini kobole so that it will reach to the audience. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
So at Agora, as I said, we have always tried to experiment with different mediums of art. And henuka eta ami korisilo podcast eta logot called Living with the River. So I would like to continue that definitely in the next 5 years as well, where we are sort of experimenting with different mediums and different not experimental, but like just how you can use sound, how you can use different kinds of lights, how you can use a completely different medium of performance arts, and that's where I think my interest with Agora would lie.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. আজি নলেজ এণ্ড মাইণ্ডৰ আজি আমাৰ অতিথি আছে ৰাধিকা গোস্বামী। তেখেতৰ লগত বহুত কথা পাতিলোঁ আৰু বহুতখিনি কথা পাতিবলৈ বাকী থাকিল তেখেতৰ কামৰ বিষয়ে, কিন্তু যিহেতু সময় সীমিত, আমি আকৌ চেষ্টা কৰিম পিছলৈ আমি ৰাধিকা গোস্বামীক আকৌ এবাৰ আমাৰ মঞ্চলৈ মাতিবলৈ। আজিলৈ এইখিনিতে সামৰিছোঁ আৰু পুনৰ এবাৰ আহিম এজন নতুন গেষ্টৰ সৈতে। ধন্যবাদ।